Hello, and welcome to Cyber Risk Management in Practice. In this video, we're shifting into what it actually looks like to build or rebuild a cyber risk management program inside an organization. And to set the tone, we start with a story from 1914. Ernest Shackleton and his crew set out to cross the Antarctic. But when their ship, the Endurance, became stuck and eventually crushed by ice, the original goal became impossible. Shackleton's mission changed from exploration to survival. He didn't follow a predefined plan because the conditions had changed. What mattered was how he adapted, made decisions with his crew, and led them out alive. There's a quote of his that cuts right to the heart of this chapter. Superhuman effort isn't worth a damn unless it achieves results. That's what cyber risk management is really about. Not pushing harder, not trying to do everything at once, but making progress that matters, producing results where it counts, and with the resources you have. Often you see that people in risk management begin with a gap assessment. A gap assessment assumes we already know what the end state should look like. But in many organizations, the bigger challenge is clarity. Clarity about what the business actually needs, how it works, and what role cyber risk plays in supporting or threatening that. So before the gap assessment, you need to start by understanding the business model. What are the core functions? What drives revenue? What would cause real disruption if it failed? You also need to consider internal dynamics, what I call how things are really done. This includes leadership behaviors, competing priorities, and how decisions actually get made. Without that awareness, it's easy to introduce friction or push for change before the organization is ready. This is where many programs get stuck. The resistance you face won't always sound like no. It may come in the form of delayed responses, vague support, or quiet disengagement. Sometimes people don't resist the ideas, they resist the process, especially when they've seen similar efforts fail before. That's why trust comes before buy-in. The role of the risk leader here is to listen, understand the landscape, and earn the credibility needed to move forward. And that includes being aware of the knowing doing gap, that space between what people know they should do and what they actually do. This isn't about knowledge. It's about creating the conditions that make action possible. And change, even when positive, rarely moves in a straight line. People and teams go through a range of reactions, what some compare to the Kubler-Ross curve: shock, denial, frustration, adjustment, and eventually, integration. Being aware of that emotional cycle matters, especially when your role is to lead others through it. It's why technical knowledge alone isn't enough. You need emotional intelligence, communication skills, and mentorship. You need to know when to push and when to pause. Because the real work of building a cyber risk program isn't about ticking boxes. It's about helping people move forward step by step in a way that they can sustain. Next, we'll need to shift from the groundwork to the actual plan, how to structure your efforts, define your milestones, and build a program that reflects your organization's reality. So once you've laid the groundwork, by understanding the business, navigating resistance, and starting to build trust, the next step is to put together a plan. You need a plan that reflects where the organization actually is and gives people a path they can follow step by step. That's where a cyber risk management roadmap comes in. This roadmap is more than just for tracking progress. It's a communication tool. It shows stakeholders what's coming, where decisions are needed, and how the effort connects to broader priorities. The roadmap can be supported by objectives and key results, or OKRs. Start simple. For example, complete a scoped risk assessment. Bring the right people into the conversation. Capture risks that actually matter to the business. And develop a small set of realistic treatment plans that show how this process delivers value. The point is to start small and start visible. And when it comes to that first assessment, scope it carefully. Pick a business unit, a region, or a system where there's both need and openness. Avoid the most complex or politically charged area. This first success is about building momentum. Now, how you run that assessment matters. A technical checklist won't get you far. You need to engage stakeholders thoughtfully. Listen to how they describe their work. Understand what they're worried about. Ask how decisions get made. Your goal is to connect risk to reality because this process is not only about risk scoring, but about building relationships. When people see that your goal is to help, not judge, they engage more openly. And that's where real insights come from. With the first section almost behind us, by now you can now name what's been quietly powering everything you have built so far. Momentum through meaningful action. That momentum is the core of the cyber risk management vortex. It's the engine that helps turn intention into real, sustained movement. Change doesn't happen in one leap. Programs grow through consistent, purposeful steps, ones that earn trust, help people learn, and keep things going even when conditions aren't ideal. And just like that momentum builds over time, so does the vortex itself. The vortex is a model that will develop across the book. Each section adds a new dimension, expanding the program while reinforcing the foundation set by the previous one. You'll see how this cycle of action, reflection, and adjustment shows up in every part of the work, because that's what makes risk management stick. Not by chasing perfection, but by creating a rhythm others can follow and want to be part of. Finally, as part of this chapter, there's a story I shared in the book from a company I call Global Corp. At first, cybersecurity was treated as part of IT where priorities, incentives, and decisions were relegating cybersecurity to second place. So the priorities weren't aligned because IT was focused on performance and keeping things running. At times that created a conflict of interests when cybersecurity was perceived as an extra load carry. Cybersecurity then needed to focus on protecting the business from risk materialization, and that required a greater degree of independence. So the two functions were separated, becoming check and balances to each other. That one change created space for cyber risk to have its own voice, its own strategy, and its own leadership path. It didn't solve everything overnight, but it allowed the right conversations to start happening. And that's the core message of this chapter. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a plan that reflects where your organization is, where you can get traction, and how you can build trust while delivering results. This marks the end of the first section in the book, where we've focused on building a foundation, aligning strategy, and preparing for real-world execution. From here, we'll move into what that execution looks like, not as a grand vision, but as a practical, evolving effort shaped by context, constraints, and the people doing the work. And if this approach resonates with you, there's a lot more discussed in the book. Find your copy and embark on this journey with me, improving your cyber risk management program step by step with a practical approach.